Good evening, YouTube. So this is the original OEM power window switch off of the passenger side. This is the one I replaced a couple of weeks ago. When I took this out, I was curious as to how this thing works, how it's actually built inside. I've never really looked into these too much. This is basically a double pole, double throw switch. Here's one pole and the other pole. There's a normally closed contact on the top, and then when you push that wiper down, there's a contact down here on the bottom that contacts to this brass here. And then likewise down here is another contact. Yeah, so the two normally open contacts, which are on the bottom, are connected together. So there's one common terminal for the normally open contacts. The normally closed contacts, which is this one and this one, are separate. The connector has 5 pins. So what it has is the two common terminals, the two normally closed terminals, and then it has the common normally open terminal. So those are the 5 connections, and I'll show you that in a minute here. This is the up switch. So when you push that button down, the window goes up. And when you push this switch closed, the window goes down. The key to this whole thing is this rocker, and it's symmetrical. You can put it in any way you want. And the way it's built, it's got these two spring-loaded plungers there. So that's the spring. There's no spring in here. And then on each side, there's this little tab that sticks down, one there and one there. Those line up here with these shiny marks here, you can see. If you push the rocker to the up position, you're only operating half the switch. You operate this half, and when you go down, you're operating this half. So this rocker is really kind of neat. It makes sure that you can't operate both sides at the same time. So instead of this being a real double pole, double throw switch where you're flipping 2 sets of contacts at once, you're only changing 1 set of contacts at any one time. This would be more your typical setup. You would have a double pole, double throw switch, and you would have a normally open position and then a center off. So if you're in the middle, like your rocker here is just sitting there, that would be off, and then you flip it down. You would flip both these contacts down, and then you would put 12 volts to the bottom of the motor, and you would put ground to the top of the motor, and it would go down. And then likewise, if you go up to the up position here, and now you have 12 volts and ground, and the motor turns the other way. So that's more of the classic wiring for a double pole, double throw switch, but they were able to do that same feature with 2 single pole double throw switches. So it just makes the switch a lot simpler. It's still got both sets of contacts, but you're only operating 1 contact at a time. And let me show you how that works here. So yeah, this is out of my 85 4Runner. So they have what they call the power main relay or the power window relay. And this relay gets power from the accessory position on your ignition switch and just turns on, and that sends power down here to your power windows. And that's the relay I bypassed. I just pulled the relay out and ran a jumper over here. This is your 12 volts coming off the battery through the relay, and then it comes down. The print got chopped off, but it comes down here. You see the LR wire, and then you've also got LR up here. That's your 12 volts. So that's your common, normally open contacts on the driver's side, and then on the passenger side, all the normally open contacts are connected to 12 volts all the time. Yeah, so you have your ground connection here, chassis ground, comes up here and connects to the driver side master switch to the 2 normally closed contacts. So those are tied together to ground, and there's no ground to the passenger side switch. So the way the switch works, assuming you just leave the master switch on the driver's side alone, you've got ground here and here, and you've got 12 volts here, 12 volts here. So if you push the up switch, which is like this one, that moves that contact from here to the bottom position. Now you've got 12 volts here through the motor, and then back through here and back to ground. The current has to flow from here through the motor, back to the driver's side, and then back to chassis ground. So that's why the passenger side windows are always a little bit weaker, because you've got this ground connection that has to go from the driver's side over to the passenger side. There is a direct 12 volt connection here, but then if you operate the window from the driver's side, let's say you want to go up, and if you push that switch closed, you now have 12 volts here, and it's just like you operated this switch, but you operated it over here. I think one of the reasons they do that is, like, let's say the driver were trying to roll the motor up, so he's got this switch closed, you've got 12 volts here, and let's say the passenger wanted to roll the window down, so he switches over here, so he's got 12 volts coming through here to the motor. You've got 12 volts on each side of the motor. Nothing happens. There's no short circuit. It just sits there, doesn't do anything, and whoever lets go of the switch first, the other switch takes over. So yeah, it's kind of a neat setup. But anyway, let's go in and take a look on the computer screen, because I've got the 88 4Runner and a 1990 second gen 4Runner, and we can see how the power window switches have changed. They're very similar over the years, but they've done little tweaks to them. So let's go take a look at that next.